Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Calandra Waters-Lake, and I serve as Executive Director of Wild Virginia. We're an advocacy nonprofit working to protect and connect your favorite wild places. We focus on habitat connectivity and wildlife crossings, water quality, and limiting the impacts of natural gas pipelines. We also provide educational opportunities like these that help cement our connection to nature and our understanding of its value, environmentally and culturally. If you would like to join us and become a Wild Virginian, which I highly recommend, go to our website to learn more about what we do and ways to donate, because every dollar really makes a difference for us. Before I introduce our guest speaker, I wanted to highlight our next webinar happening on June 3rd, focused on invertebrates. Folks might think about bear or deer when we discuss wildlife crossings, but invertebrates face really unique challenges and are extremely important to our ecosystem. So I hope we will see you there on June 3rd. And with no further ado, it's my honor to introduce our guest speaker, Tanya Stewart. Tanya is a citizen of the Chickahominy Indian Tribe of Virginia and was the Cultural Resources Director for the Eastern Chickahominy Tribe. She's been doing native crafts for over 40 years, including beading, pottery, leather, and bark and pine needle bags. Her beadwork has been featured all over the world, including the US, Canada, Japan, and Ireland. Tanya has represented her tribe for over 20 years, doing cultural outreach and workshops, and we are very excited to have her here today, discussing Native life before European contact and how Virginia's wild places were and are integral to her tribe's culture, trades, and livelihoods. Tanya, thank you for joining us, and I will hand it over to you.
Oh, well, thank you. Good evening. I appreciate the invitation. Always glad to share about my people, just about the Chickahominy tribe in general, about natives of Virginia, and we are Eastern Algonquian natives. So, just giving a little bit of information about how we lived, as you said, as a people pre-colonial contact. Um, so, as Tanya Stewart. I belong to the Chickahominy Indian Tribe. Chickahominy means coarse pound corn people. So with us as Chickahominy, we lived along the Chickahominy River, which, as many tribes live along the river that bears their name. The Rappahannock tribe, they live along the Rappahannock River. Mattaponi, they live along the Mattaponi River, as such. Um, the waters, were our highways. They would, water is life. So, the waters, they were our highways. They were our food source. Just we as the Chickahominy people have been documented to have gone as far as into the Great Lakes and into Canada, and as far south as into Florida, just by trade. And just the different artifacts, the different things that were found in these places, the things that were found here on our Chickahominy lands, reflect that were a traveling folk. Um, we were trading. There were no monies, at that time. Monies didn't come here into the Americas until, I believe, like the 1670s, 1680s, something to that. So, it's a lot of the barter system and, just things like that. So that's what we as a people did. We did a lot of trading. We as the Chickahominy, living on the Chickahominy River, that's fresh water. So our food sources were a little bit different. So we as Chickahominy means coarse pound corn people. We grew corn. Corn was our big thing. To this day in Charles City County, corn is the biggest export in Charles City County. So we as a people, that's corn was that thing. You're going to eat the corn. You're going to have just your corn itself. You're going to eat the corn. You're going to use your cob just for different things, for corking your bottles, your gourd bottles that we would have. We're going to use our husks for making corn husk dolls. We're going to keep these things. We're going to try to use everything that we have from it. And, just being real, we're going to use these husks. We're going to use these corn cobs for our bathroom purposes. I mean, we're going to take everything that we can and use these things. Today, you will see a lot of Chickahominy folk will have corn necklaces. So, and it's just another representative of us as a people. Coarse pound corn people. We have the turtle as another emblem of our tribe. So most of the time, a Chickahominy person, we're going to have something representing our tribe, us as a native people in our home. Different things throughout our home. We have our flags. We'll have turtle rattles. We'll have turtle shaped rattles. We'll have turtle shell themselves rattles. What we're going to put in our rattles? Corn. So we're going to be able to make those noises. And even to that, such as our tattoos. So this is a traditional tattoo from a Chickahominy pot, and this is from a Chickahominy pot. And this one, it's from a Chickahominy pot, but it also is representative of the Chickahominy River. The river is very curvy, snake-ish, but I squared my tattoo off. But the dots represent the villages that we had on both sides of the river. So we had villages on the Charles City side of the river, and we had villages on the New Kent side of the Chickahominy River. Same as with the Pamunkey tribe. Pamunkey had folks on one side of the Pamunkey River, then on the other side of the river, you had the Mattaponi. You had the Mattaponi folks over there. So we're using our waterways. Like I said, we're trading. We're doing all these different things. The waters were our highways, and we would have been traveling by canoe. This is just a mini version of our canoes. They were flat on the ends, and we would actually sit on the ends. We would have a fire on the inside if we were going to be fishing at night, which we did do. But also, our canoes were made from cypress, and cypress, because it's water friendly, so we'd be able to use our canoes. We'd set small fires along. As the fire burned, we're gonna scrape the coals and the ash off and burn down. We have several folks that are actively making dugout canoes today. I know one gentleman, he has 3 in the projects. So, we're still doing these things, still traveling. It's been documented that John Smith has said that one of the canoes that he saw was holding 20 men. So we're gonna have. You think about, you're gonna have 20 men in a canoe, in a boat. You're gonna have, just modern day, you have 10 on each side, and just thinking about, that's going to be awful large. So it was also documented that the canoes would have been made from trees that 12 men would have been able to hold hands around a tree as that large. So if the tree's that large, it's pretty easy to go ahead with the fact that it's going to hold 20 people. But then, of course, we had smaller canoes. You made what you needed. What you had to use, you made it. There was no Walmart. There was no Home Depot. If you needed an axe, you went out and you made an axe. You cut your tree, you chopped your tree down, you shaved your handle down, you got you a piece of stone that we, as the Chickahominies, the stones are not, obsidian is the only thing that's pretty much readily available here in Charles City County, Charles City, New Kent area. So we're going to be trading for these, for the darker stones, the cert, all that, with the Monacan folk. And we're going to be trading our corn for their stones. So, just doing that barter system. But you need something, you had to make it yourself. You had to make our axe. Same thing with our with everything that we needed. So say that we would be hunting, we would harvest the deer, we're going to eat the meat. we're going to take the bones and use them for our tools. So this is my antler, but it's also my rake. It's my rake. It's my hand tool. So this is something that we're going to be using. And then also along with my deer shoulder, this is my hoe. This is what I'm going to be using, and getting my work done in the garden, trying to keep track of things. We're going to use the bones of the deer, and we're going to do a whole lot of different things with the bones. With the deer toe, we're actually going to be able to make hooks, fishing hooks. So there's a natural hook shape in the deer toe, and this is just the progress of the progression of the of shaving it down. So we're going to shave the toe, and we're going to cut it in half. Then we're going to shave it down with some of the pieces that were left over when we were flip napping that axe head right there. And then we're going to end up with this hook. So it took me 5 hours to do this hook. So just thinking of the process, you're going to get 2 from each toe. You're going to have 4 on each hoof. So that's 4, 8, 12, 16 hooks that you're going to end up just with harvesting one deer. Then after that, we're going to take the bone. We're going to take the leg, the deer bone, the leg, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut that in half again. And then we're going to end up with a scraper. So this scraper would have been like for scraping the gunk off the hide, after we had harvested the deer, because once we scrape all of that, we're going to be keeping that as well, because all that we scrape off, we're going to keep that. We're going to keep the eyes, and we're going to boil that down, and we're going to get glue, and that's going to be like that brown glue that you used in like elementary school years and years ago. I don't know if it's still using it now, but it's that type of glue, that type of epoxy. Right here is another scraper, but it's actually a multi-purpose. So one side is kind of rough for the scraping part, but then the other side is been shaved and carved down for a knife. So we're gonna say fishing, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna have a fish. We're gonna use one side to scale it. We're gonna use the other side and we're gonna cut it. So then we're gonna end up with another tool. So this is my spearhead, my fishing spearhead, and this again is made from the deer bone, from the bone of the leg. So we have that, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that and we're gonna attach it to our 8-foot pole. And this is another fishing spear. This one is attached, and it's attached with this is actually deer guts, so it's just a little bit stronger, a little bit different than the rawhide, but it also has been attached using that deer glue. So these are things that we're going to be using while we're having just having our hunting and having our harvested our deer. We're going to use these things. We're also going to use the hide, and we're going to make our clothing with that, our moccasins, different things. But then we're going to continue to go on, and then we're going to have to another part of the hunting is actually for our arrowheads. So we're going to use the deer bone for our arrowheads as well, but then also we're going to be flint napping and getting those. But then with our arrows, most of the time our arrows were made from river cane. So with the just being with the river cane, we're right here on the water. We're trying to use everything that that we have available to us. The river cane is because it's hollow, and you can actually you put a little bit of heat to it, and you can bend it and make it straight. If it's just a slightly bent. But that's just some of the things that, we as Eastern Woodland Indians, we're going with, we're living on the water, we're right here on it, we're using it for everything. We're trading with other tribes. So trading like with the Nansemond for the oysters because their water is brackish. Suffolk County, it's more brackish water. Wichita City, right here, is fresh water. So we're able to trade and use these different things and learn from the different folks. As we're doing that, we're traveling, we're going back and forth, we're using the waters, we're we would sink our canoes in the wintertime, because it's going to freeze over. We sink our canoes, we bring them back up in the spring. We would just do different things at different times of the year. Right now would be the time that we would be making bark bags. With the bark bags, this time of year, because that's when the sap is closest to the bark. So when we cut and peel the bark off the tree, it's not going to kill the tree. So this right here is my arrow quiver, and it was made from the bark of a poplar tree. And like I say, it's done this time of year, and we're going to cure it and let it dry out. Traditionally, we would have used rocks and sand to cure it, but nowadays, just use kitty litter. That's going to take about 2 months using the kitty litter. If we did the traditional route, it would take about 6 months for it to cure, but to be able to use. But we've got my arrow to be able to put in here. As I said, arrow is made out of the river cane. So the arrow is made out of the river cane. What we're going to do is, because it's hollow, we're going to be able to use the arrow head. It's actually going to slide down into the shaft. So this is a little bit large, but just for normally it would maybe slide down, pretty good. But this is just a little bit bigger, just for presentation purposes. But it's going to slide down into it. We're going to shoot our arrow. It's going to go into our animal. As the animal's running, it's going to, the arrow's going to fall. This is going to be in doing its job. We're going to grab the arrow, pull another one out of our pocket, out of our pouch, line it back up, and then we're ready to fire again. But of course, we did have just the regular arrows with the wood, with the stabilized, and with the flint napped arrowhead. But most of the time, these were going to be used just for the smaller game. And we're going to have turkey feather fletchings, and again attached with the rawhide and the deer glue. Then I have right here. I have a pine needle basket, and this was actually this was the first basket that I ever made, and I was just very particular about not making anything stick out, so my stitches are very close together. Um, and it took 26 hours. But I have done several since then, and I made a little top and got a little handle on it too. So yeah, I put some time and thought into it, being the first one. But since then, yeah, I've done a lot of different sizes and different things. There, just like to talk about like the different tribes here in Virginia. We have the Rappahannock, the Mattaponi, the Upper Mattaponi, the Pamunkey, the Eastern Chickahominy, the Chickahominy, the Nansemond, the Cherokee Nottoway. What else we have? We have the Monacan that are out west. So with all these tribes, some of us are Algonquin speaking. The Monacan, they're Siouan. The Cherokee, they are Iroquois. So just with the different languages being here in Virginia, there were some battles, but we were able to get along some and do some trading just to do these, just to be able to survive. Another thing too is that just we as a folks, we as a people, gained federal recognition, in, let's see, it was July. I'm sorry, it was January. I believe it's January 29 of 2018. And just for getting federal recognition, that means that we as a tribe were officially declared as a people, because we were not considered a people for so long. Um, there was in 1924. It was the it was Walter Plucker. He was actually just trying to change the birth certificates of Native folks, saying that it was either black or white. So it was for a long time that before we could get that recognition as a people. That was in 1983. We became state recognized, and then from there on, it was the federal recognition. But because of the federal recognition, we are able to provide meals and transportation for our elders to different doctor's appointments. We're also able to help provide um, daycare for some of our folks. We're also able to help with some of sending our folks to college, being able to help with different scholarships. So that just helps us be able to get our hands on different grants that we wouldn't have had access to before. So that's just one thing that is really helping us as a people. We still have powwows. Chickahominy has the longest running traditional powwow in the state of Virginia. I dare to say on the East Coast. Um, we are at 73 years this year. So, and I say traditional because it is no competition. A lot of powwows have competition, which is great. I mean, that's wonderful. Because you're going to have the different dance categories, and just showing your athleticism, your smoothness, your regalia, the time that you put into your clothing. The clothing that we wear is called regalia. It's not a costume. um, Costume is something that you wear when you're pretending to be something that you're not. We're native. We wear our regalia, and that's during powwows, during ceremony. Everyday life, we're dressing just like everybody else does. We're riding around in the same vehicles, regular houses, apartments, whatnot. No, we don't. We don't live in teepees. That's West Coast, but still, I don't believe they live in teepees either. But I've never been out west. Don't know. Um, I'm a Virginia girl. This is where I've been. That's where I'm gonna stay. This is where my people are from. It's a lot of pride with us as a Chickahominy people. It's a lot of pride with us as a Native people. It's a lot of pride with us as Virginia Indians, because we were literally first contact. So people want to make comments, well, you don't look Indian, or just your hair, you don't look Indian, or your face or your complexion or whatnot. You got to remember, we were first contact. We were the ones that were initially intermarrying. You want to say Pocahontas was the first famous native that married, out of her race. And there's a lot of stories about that. But we as a folk, we are very proud of who we are and where we come from. And one of our biggest messages, year after year, time after time, we're still here. That's we're still here. um I mean, that's pretty much the different things that I have for presentation. But I mean, I'm open for questions. Folks have comments or whatnot.
Thank you, Tanya. We do have some questions, and the first one was, what species of trees were used for tools versus canoes?
Okay, well, canoes was cypress. For our tools, we're going to be using hickory, um, black oak, white oak, um, using some cypress as well. just for different things.
There are a couple more questions about canoes. How does the canoe not burn as well if there's a fire in the canoe?
Just from it already being burned before, just the char of it. Some of it's left, and some of it's taken, just scraped completely away. That's and it's built up, so it's not gonna be like a whole big old fire. It's only gonna be burning for an hour or two. It's not for all night long type of fish, night hunting, fishing, however you want to.
Uh, there's one more about canoes. What are the benefits of sinking the canoes in the winter is the question.
Basically, so we're gonna fill it with mud and we're gonna let it sink, and it's just gonna preserve better. It's gonna stand. If it's left above the ground, it's gonna dry out. Faster it dries out, the less we'll be able to use it. We want to get a good 10, 15 years out of a canoe, not 5, because it takes so long to make them. And we do. I've never made one. I've maybe put in about 3 hours worth of scraping um into making a canoe, but you're talking, man, I don't know, you're talking probably about 150 to 200 hours of burning for one decent sized canoe.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work, hot work, depending on when you're working on it too.
Next question, different topic. Do you still retain your native language?
Yes, yes, we do speak Algonquin. We do speak what our area is considered is Sinakamaka Algonquian. So that's different. It's totally different from the Algonquian that's spoken by the Wampanoag, that's spoken by the Ojibwe. I mean, out that way, um, it's totally different here in the Sinakamaka area. One to say the Tidewater area.
Could you talk about the spirituality of your tribe?
Um, Pre-colonial contact, we believed in two gods and the devil. Um, with I think by the way that we believed in, it was a god of war and a god of peace, and then you had the devil. Um, I think personally, I believe that's how it was easy for us to transition to Christianity. We, as Chickahominy Indians, majority of us belong to the Samaria Baptist Church, which is less than 500 yards from our tribal building itself. Um, just with that, like I said, I think that was easier for us as a people. There was a man named James Bradby, a missionary, and that came over from, I believe he was from England. That he came over in the 1700s. He married a Chickahominy woman, and Bradby is a popular native name in the Chickahominy tribe, in the Mattaponi tribe, and also in the Pamunkey tribe as well. And he helped to convert us to Christianity. Like I said, we originally believed in, it had two gods and a devil. I think that's how it was easier for us because to transfer, we already, so as in Christianity, you already have the enemy, the devil, and then you have God the Son, you have God, and then you have Jesus, and then you have the Holy Spirit. So you got the Trinity, and I think that was kind of easy for us to make that transition, that understanding that within the God the Father, God the Son.
Thank you. When hunting or fishing, how far from one's home or village would one typically travel?
Pre-colonial contact, by foot, it wasn't far at all. Because we as a Chickahominy would hook up with the Pamunkey people and would frequently have hunting parties. Um, let's see. And so from Charles City County to King William County, where the Pamunkey people are, if you're driving, it's going to take about 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes, depending on what part of Charles City you're leaving from, and what part of King William you're going to. If you're going by foot, um, that's if we would have been traveling by then, it probably wouldn't have even taken an hour. And then just being able to travel back and forth. So we're gonna be hunting with them. We're gonna just hook up in the middle, and we're gonna hunt the area. We would probably go maybe as far as I probably wouldn't even say 50 miles, because we as a people typically didn't go past the falls, didn't go past the James and Upper Richmond, past the rocks. I don't know what the technical term is. That's how we refer to it as. Because on the other side was the Monacan people. That's Monacan side. You leave them people alone. That's their stuff. So we typically didn't really do much hunting over there. We tried to trade with them. So yeah, most of our hunting, we as Chickahominy, we would have been going more toward the Tappahannock area, more toward Fredericksburg, up and over. Um, and it is one story that we as the Chickahominy and the Pamunkey were on a hunting party, and we had captured John Smith. Took John Smith because captured him because thought he was the captain that had killed the chief of the tribe 2 years before. Took him to see the chief. They decided that he was not the captain that had killed their chief, and then he ended up going to see Wahusunica, which is Powhatan, and at that point, that was the story of him being captured and Pocahontas saving his life and all that. But what really saved his life is that they were looking for a tall, thin man who was the captain that killed their chief. John Smith was short and stout. So that's with the pictures that you see, the Disney representation, all that. John Smith wasn't that good looking blonde dude. He was short and fat. That's what saved his life.
We have a couple questions about the beautiful basket that you made. Could you describe the process of weaving the pine needles, and how did you harvest them? Did you have to treat them?
Okay, so no, I didn't have to treat them, but so the harvesting, just the basket itself. Um, let's see. So the basket is put together with sinew, and this is with natural sinew, and sinew is the ligaments and tendons of the deer. That's what it used for this. The harvesting portion, there's long leaf pine, and it's none of that around here in Charles City County, but two places that have those trees that were planted, and we're able to go and harvest from there. And we try to do it if we're going to be using them soon. We would go on days like this when it's raining. That way, we don't have to soak them. They're already soft and pliable, and we're able to bend them and use them without them breaking. Um, Otherwise, once we would gather our pine needles just off the ground, we're going to soak them for about half an hour to 45 minutes just so they're soft. And then we're going to go ahead and start with this is the bottom, and just start right here with this, just with the little circle. And you just start and you keep working your way around. You keep adding and adding. Pretty much, if you've ever done pottery, it's the same concept as you're adding your coals. You're adding each layer. And some people, this one, as I said, this one is made with sinew. Some folks use rafa. Let's see. Some folks, if you really want to get real traditional, you use pine needles to make your pine needle basket. So you're gonna actually take your pine needle one, and you're gonna use that as if it were a thread. So there are, just a couple of different ways that this can be done.
That looks like it takes a lot of talent.
Patience,
Patience.
patience, patience.
Could you talk at all about any of the plants that are used for traditional medicines?
Just basically what we have, the dandelion. You definitely can use that. Um, let's see. We have the cattail. We're able to use that. Yucca as well. Um, use the yucca for medicine, and you can use that for your for helping to make your ropes. And just taking those fibers and twisting those up, making different kinds of ropes and strings that we would need. Let's see. Look, I'm drawing a blank. What else? Dog bane. That's good for upset stomach. Um, let's see. You have your mint. That's good for upset stomach. Also, we also chewed on mint for just for our breath. We didn't really brush our teeth, but we did chew on mint for our breath. We were a clean people. We bathed just about every day. Winter, spring, summer, fall. We would bust the ice and take a dip. Um, we would use different lilacs and different kinds of different soaps, honeysuckles, just to rub on our bodies, and then to help us smell good. We weren't the savages that we were made out to be. We were wondering what that smell was when they got off the boat. What's up with that? Why aren't you bathing as often as we are, type of thing. We had we would use porcupine quills for combs and brushes and different things. So I mean, we did a little bit.
What type of houses do the Chickahominy traditionally live in?
All right, so we are Eastern Algonquin folks, so we lived in longhouses, and that's we call it a John Smith called it a longhouse because that's what it is. It's pretty much it's a longhouse. They would be anywhere from 20 to 70 feet long. It could also have been made out of bark. If it was made out of bark, then that was pretty much that was somebody with some clout. They're gonna have bark on their house. Normal folk, we're gonna have these cattail reeds, cattail reed mats that we're gonna make and put on our house. We're gonna be staying in our long house. It's gonna be anywhere from probably about maybe 10 to 15 people. You're gonna have your whole family. Me, my husband, my son, his wife, 3 kids, my mother, his mother and father, maybe his brother and his sister and wife, all of us. It takes a village. We really we take that to heart. To this day, we take that to heart. It's just a lot. The blended family thing. We're gonna be staying in the longhouse. We as a people, we didn't have to pack up and move. If we wanted something different, if it's time for fishing, then we're gonna go to our fishing village, which was maybe a half a mile and then across the river. Or we're gonna go to our hunting village, which was, a mile a mile inland, from the river itself. We're gonna have the longhouse, different longhouses, your Hakens there, different sizes. And we didn't have to tear nothing down and pick up and move, but we're just scattered about. Everyone's just scattered about and doing their own little thing in our own little village, might as well say our own little towns. type of thing. But we didn't have to pick up and move and chase this animal or that animal for food or anything. We just moved to the different areas. Some folks may have been, staying at the fishing village year round. But if someone from the growing area, from the growing village, is like, all right, well, growing season's done. All right, let's go fish. This is time of year. The different times of year are set aside for different things. In the spring, we're going to be doing our fishing, our turkey hunting. In the summertime, we're going to be doing our gardening. We're going to be taking care of that. In the fall, we're going to be doing our harvesting of our crops. We're going to be doing more hunting to try to get ready for the winter. In the winter, we're going to hunker down, and that's when we're going to be working on and making our tools and fishing our fishing nets and working on doing things that we aren't able to do, because we're not able to move about as freely. So it's different times of the year as we try to take care of different projects. Like I was talking about earlier with the bark bag, this is the time of year that we're going to be doing those things, just for you only have like a couple of months, when that sap is there, because we as a people, we're not trying to kill just to be killing. That's why we're only going to take the bark off the tree. We're not going to cut deep into the tree where you're getting into the meat, of the tree. You're just going to cut deep enough to where you're getting that bark, and you're going to peel it off, because there's so much sap on it. You can feel and hear that suction, that release. And, to me, it makes me feel good. It's like, thank you, creator, thank you, Lord, thank you, tree, I got this nice piece and I'm not hurting you, and I'm able to make a nice piece. That one bark bag that I made was on display at the Library of Virginia in the Indigenous Perspectives exhibit that they had running last year. So it's I love sharing my heritage, sharing the different things that I've learned over the years, not just with Native folk, with everyone.
Thank you. I must have seen that there at the library. So there are all these tasks and projects that you just mentioned. Did women and men, did they do different types of work, or were things shared? Were there certain roles that were played?
Yeah, so typically the men, they hunted and they fished, and we did everything else. um, Literally, we did everything else. The men, they would go out, they would hunt and fish, and they would bring the food back to us, and we would process it. We would cut the meat. Say it was a deer. Hunting party boys came back. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna be cutting the meat up. We're gonna be preparing the meat to be able to be eaten. Then we're gonna be preparing the meat to be smoked, so we can eat it later, like beef jerky. We're going to be saving the bones, cutting the bones, and making our tools, making our weapons that we need. We're going to, because each person made what they needed. I need a knife. I gotta go ahead and get the wood that I'm going to use for my handle, or the deer antler that I'm going to use for my handle. I'm gonna have to go ahead and either flint nap that blade, or go ahead and get that bone from that deer leg and shave her down so I can go ahead and make my blade. Just different ways to keep the process going. Um, let's see. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. We still have lots of questions. So
All right.
a couple more on language. They wanted to know if any part of your communication is written. Certainly symbols are meaningful in signifying various meanings, such as what you showed us with your tattoos. And then also, how is your language passed on? Do you have classes, or do enough people speak it that the kids pick it up?
All right. So what we're doing right now, yes, we do have written words, but not that we as natives wrote. The wording that we have is from John Smith, from Thomas White, different folks who came over and interacted with specifically the Chickahominy, the Pamunkey, the Mattaponi, and the Rappahannock, the Nansemond folks, because we are Algonquian speaking peoples. So we have information from them on words. We have words that were passed down, um, words and phrases that were passed down for years and years and years and years, that we as a people have and use. But also in the process of reawakening our language, we are preparing to have classes that we have worked with a linguist, and we're able to actually learn, write, and speak our language. And that's one of the processes that we're going through, is trying to figure out how we want to add new words, like microwave. Are we going to do hot box? Different things like that, or are we just going to do like Spanglish and just be speaking Algonquin and say microwave and then go right back to Algonquin? How are we going to do this? So that's something that we're working with. I would say, let's see, Nemacha, Chickahominy, Ne Turtle Wings, Nantam, Ozias, Roreko. So I said, I am Chickahominy. I like to talk about my people. I love my people. We are all as one. So that's what I spoke in Algonquian. So we're still trying to get this out. Our goal is to be able to in the next 15 years, because we know that it's a long process, but in the next 15 years we'll hopefully be everyone in our tribe will be speaking fluently. But I am a part of the language revitalization group, so I'm a little bit ahead. It's a few of us who are a little bit ahead than others.
There's a question about your shirt. Could you tell us about the meaning behind the symbol on your shirt?
Yeah, so this is just the red hand. Normally, it stands for Missing Murdered Indigenous Women, and Native American women are the most frequently murdered and kidnapped, stolen peoples, because basically no one cares about us. And we're trying to bring that to light. It's a movement. It's been going on for the last 7 years or more, since it started up. There was a young Native woman in North Carolina who was murdered. Her name was Faith Hedgepeth, and she's from the Hallawasaponi tribe, and she that really hit home for us here, because we always hear about it out west, on the reservations and all. There are only two reservations here in Virginia. And that's the Mattaponi and the Pamunkey. And the reservations here are nothing like the reservations that you see out west, that you see on TV. And my son has been to out west to reservations doing missionary work, and he's like, Mama, what you see on TV it's worse in real life. So we here, we don't have, our life isn't like them out there. So once it happened to Faith, it really hit home with us here, and started, really working on the movement. Normally, it will be a red hand across the face, just as in silence, like with the three monkeys, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Well, normally it's going to be the red handprint, and it's going to be across the face. It's going to be like that. And I don't know if you can see the back of my shirt just from where I'm at, but it says watch your back. It says watch your back. So that's just meaning to be careful. I'm a little older, and to be honest, I'm a big girl, so I don't believe anybody's going to be trying to steal me or nothing. But just trying to bring awareness to everyone to, watch your back, be careful. You know, people people out here to do bad stuff.
Thanks for sharing that. We have just a couple more minutes, and we have a few more questions.
Mhm.
There's some about, are there any challenges with deforestation and associated water quality issues in the Chickahominy Nation?
Um, Deforestation issues, not so much. The water issues, yes. The Chickahominy, um, I believe it's late mid '60s or so when Walker's Dam was built on the Chickahominy, and that really put a dent in our fishing, and it really made a big impact on our waters. Um, just as a people were trying to figure out a way with our environmental department, they're trying to figure out different ways for to be able to help clean the water. Nansemond folks, they have really gotten involved with the cleaning of their river with using oysters, and it's been a big difference for them. Hopefully, we can figure out something here with the Chickahominy. You got the James coming off of the Chickahominy, which that's just a story in itself. But I mean, it's in Thomas White's writings about how clear the water was when they got here in 1607, being able to see down into the James River at least 20 feet. You're not going to see a half an inch probably nowadays. So, I mean, it was a big difference in those years with that water quality. But, our environmental department is working hard on trying to help with the cleaning up of the waters, and also on the with the rice, because rice is native to this area. So yeah, wild rice. So trying to get that process going as well too with the Chickahominy on the James.
There's another question about trading seeds. It says the Monacans have talked about trading seeds with the Mohawk and the Seneca people and others to recapture their native edible plants. And they wanted to know if the Chickahominy are involved in anything like that as well.
No, not at this time. We're not. But different tribes, they have different goals, and right now that's the seed and the planting, um, just on land growing. That's really not something that Chickahominy is focused on right now. Within the next month, our medical center will be opening up. So it's a medical center in Charles City County, just Indian Health Services, and it's not only going to serve natives. It'll service everyone, and anyone who wants to come. It'll serve, but it's native based. So different tribes have different goals, different aspects, and that's just not something that Chickahominy is focused on right now.
Of all the outstanding work that you've done there, the beadwork and things like that, do you have any other jewelry that you could share with the group?
Not right now. No, I don't. I don't have anything really on hand. I have lots and lots and lots and lots of pictures. But I don't have anything on hand right now that I can share. Um, I can share my bracelet. This is actually, let me take it off. Show a little bit better. So my bracelet, it was made on the loom, and these beads were gifted to me. And they were hand painted. These beads are from the 1880s. So they were each bead was hand painted. This was done on the loom. I do loom work. Let's see. I make medallions, bracelets, necklaces, earrings, full length beaded neckties. Then helping with make traditional regalia, and traditional as in being with the leather, Eastern Algonquian style. There are several different. I don't, I try to keep it pre-colonial contact. because there's traditional, but there's cloth traditional. But I like to stick with the leather and doing things with that. I've just making different things. I made my son. He's a traditional dancer, and I made his breastplate, which comes all the way down, from chest all the way down. Helped make his bustle, which is the piece that goes on his back that going to be dance using. You'll see when the dancers, and again, that's all traditional. That's eagle feathers. That's going to be turkey feathers. Just whatever was in our area is what we focused on. It's easiest. It's on hand. Use what you. Yeah, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Someone wants to know if there's a way to purchase any of your pieces or if you sell them.
Yes, I do. Yes, I sell my pieces. I can put my information or give you all my information, my phone number, my email address. I take orders and do different things. I'm on Facebook as Must Be Tans Designs. So it's MUSBTANS Designs. And that's a few of the pictures of some of my beadwork. Some of the things that I've done in general. Like I said, right now is the time to be making bark bags. So I've got a few pictures of those on there as well. But then also our powwow is the last weekend in September. So the Chickahominy powwow. Let's see, that's going to be September 27th and 28th. So September 27th and 28th, the Chickahominy Indian Powwow is going to be in Charles City County. It's a Saturday and Sunday, rain or shine. And there'll be Native American vendors having all different kinds of wares, things that they have made, from earrings to clothing to moccasins. And then also there'll be different foods for folks to try. And it's free to everyone. There will be a donation box, but it is a free event to anyone and everyone. And you can always come and check, not just check out my booth, but check out the other vendors' booths as well.
That you already addressed one of the questions, and we'll share all the information that you just listed out as far as the powwow and your Facebook in our follow-up email as well.
Yes.
We have one last question that I would like to try and squeeze in, and it is, what is something you wish everyone not familiar with Indigenous culture knew and would consider in their daily life?
We're still here. We're
Outstanding.
still here. We didn't go anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for a long time.
Well, thank you, Tanya. This has been a wonderful presentation. You have entertained many questions, and we really appreciate all of your answers and all of your time with everyone on this webinar, as well as everyone that will be watching it later, I am sure. We will send this recording out, but we will also send some of that follow-up information that you have shared so that folks know where to find you. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, and folks, feel free to email me with any questions that you have or anything that I didn't get a chance to answer. Just feel free to email me. I'll get you an answer as soon as possible.
Wonderful. Thank you. I hope you all have a good rest of your day, everyone that attended. We appreciate it.
Thank you all. Kina. Thank you. Kina.